Interesting reaction. Almost fighting talk from Frank.
Yeah, he's come out on the front foot. I think he'll be disappointed with some of his players that he's brought in. I've done it against the lesser teams. That was a test for those new guys today, and none of them really passed the test. Absent for the whole game.
Haven't beaten any of the top 8 yet this season.
Yeah, and that it's okay looking good against the lesser teams. These boys getting goals against the lesser teams. Saying how good Ziyech's delivery is against the lesser teams. So I would say that, and I know that Ziyech's only came into I think he missed the last 6 games.
Missed the last 7 all competitions.
But this is why you spend big money, for the players to be a difference in the big games, to damage your direct rivals. And Chelsea didn't come anywhere near that today. Started well for 10 minutes. I agree with Frank on that. The rest of the half belonged to City. They were fabulous. And then, I think City allowed themselves to get into their armchair in the second half, and Chelsea had a bit more of the ball. But the damage had been done. I think it's it's hard to make judgment on players coming to our football. People talk about the intensity of our game, and how big players from other leagues find it difficult. Well, I think they're a case in point. I'm going back to maybe the best player we've ever had in our league, Thierry Henry. He didn't have a great first year, but look what happened to him. But I think Frank, I'll be looking at those 3 closely at the moment and saying they need to find a yard from somewhere.
Interesting, Roy, to hear him talk about the fact that whatever Chelsea have done before today or in the last few weeks when they were right near the top of the table, that they would go through periods of pain. What do you make of that?
Yeah, well, of course, I think over the course of the season, every team has difficult spells. You mentioned the teams he played in, which were brilliant. And it's a tough interview when you've been obviously beaten heavily, and I know he's trying to look at the positives. He's talking about players doing well in the second half, but the game was over. He said they started the game well, the first 10 minutes. Obviously the game's 90 minutes long. There's no point in looking back. You can't talk about what happened the last year or two. It's a new team. I think what would probably frustrate him when he looks back on the game today, and obviously the little run they've been on, and he'll sit there with his staff and he'll analyse it, and he'd probably be looking at it, for the money they've spent, they don't look any stronger than they were last season. And I know lads are getting up to speed, I agree with that. They're coming to a new league, new language, even with the COVID stuff, no supporters. It's a big ask. And then like today, you play a really good team like Man City. But the bit I always scratch my head up when I'm watching a game of football and you're seeing teams having an off day, Frank said himself, he'll have a look at himself, is when players don't run back or put a tackle in. Obviously, we highlighted the goal there, even with Kanté, an experienced international player, making a mistake for the third goal, not just hitting the ball short and then obviously in on your goal. Players not sprinting back. I really don't get that. I've been in football a long time, and people try and analyse that and they go, well, what about players running? That should be in your instinct as a human being and a footballer. So I think Frank will be concerned, and he's not going to throw his players under the bus tonight, because he's probably done that the last few weeks. He's been really critical. Today he's probably thinking, I need to try and keep him on side if I can. But he must be concerned with what he saw today. He has to be. With the little run they're on, you could say, yeah, it's a difficult spell they've been and they've slipped up. But today you're thinking with the attacking players, and I thought Chelsea would put on a good performance. But there was a lack of energy. Again, when I see, when you're playing a game and you're losing 3-0 and you're not putting any tackles in on anybody, that's a huge concern for me. He's on about De Bruyne, finding space, players trying to figure it out. He's got senior players out there. He's got lads who've won the World Cup. He's brought in centre-half. Silva, he's an experienced player. Kanté's an experienced player. How they didn't sort it out or start putting tackles in or pulling people in when they were just under pressure, particularly 15, 20 minutes into the first half, you're going, listen, you kind of smell danger. You find when De Bruyne had the chance, you're thinking, listen, City are getting a foothold in the game. Let's just sit in for a time being. No problem with that. That would be the big concern for me.
He did mention that, didn't he? That ability to solve problems on the pitch. But what about Roy's bigger point there, that perhaps they're not even any further forward, having spent all this money?
No, I agree with Roy and I agree with Graeme what they're saying, but I said it with Arsenal a couple of weeks ago. They do need time to settle in. You can't expect them to be all guns blazing. We said
How much time? A
today.
season?
Well, yeah, they need at least a season, Dave. You said the first time Ziyech and Pulisic have started together. Havertz as well is not played, and I think it's difficult when you're at a team that's got the pressure on Frank Lampard. We all know he overachieved last season with the players, yeah, but these players need time to come into a difficult league. Man City have spent money. They've had time to build their team, and they've been up and down recently, but they got it right today. Chelsea got beat by the better team today, but that can change. It's not always as bad as you think. They just got beat by a better team today. There's been times when Man City have had bad games. Look at the Leicester game. You know what I mean? It happens in football, but they need to get it right quick, because of the amount of money that they have spent.
The big difference between Chelsea and all the other clubs, Chelsea don't give managers time. We're talking about Frank, and we had Ollie a couple of last year. We've heard of other managers. Obviously, Klopp, going back to Klopp.
A couple of weeks ago.
Sorry?
Arteta, we were talking about
of course,
a couple of weeks
and
ago.
these managers are under pressure. But Chelsea, it's in their DNA and their history. They don't give managers time.